Stratagem+Palace Battle+Black Male Lead+Black Female Lead+Personality Transformation+Childhood Sweetheart+Love and Murder. Lin Yunsheng was originally a spiritual tree, only descended to the mortal world for the purpose of overcoming tribulations. Princess Pingmiao of Pingguo was originally a divine bird on Penglai Island, but she also descended to earth due to her attachment to the divine tree. At this time, rebellious officials and bandits emerged in Pingguo, indiscriminately harming loyalty and righteousness, causing the people to feel helpless and resentful. Lin Yunsheng, who is only 12 years old, was brought into the palace by the eunuch Pingguo due to the death of his parents and was stranded on the streets. But he was saved by the princess and even became a fake eunuch serving her closely. From then on, the two grew up together as childhood sweethearts, and their love was as deep as the sea. The arrangement of fate always catches people off guard. They were once deeply loved, but destined to be a pair of archenemies. Chapter 1. Spiritual Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The great road of nature leads to equal creation. Mountains, waters, plants, and trees all have spiritual energy. In a peach blossom forest in Penglai fairyland, there is a psychic tree that has absorbed the essence of the sun and the moon for thousands of years. Its roots are deep and long, its trunk is towering, and its branches and leaves hang down like strands of hair, like a charming and charming man. For thousands of years, the divine tree has selflessly provided for the endless silk vine wrapped around its body, giving it spiritual energy. From then on, the thousand silk vine is like a gentle and charming woman, with a clear fragrance and the ability to produce flowers of different colors and shapes throughout the 4 seasons. In spring, the warm breeze is warm, and the thousand silk vines bloom with pink and delicate flowers. The emotions are endless, and I want to say goodbye. In summer, the hot air rises up, and the thousand silk vine spits out bright red and blood-like flowers, unrestrained and passionate, flying freely. In autumn, as the chill gradually rises, golden petals fall from the thousand silk vine, returning to dust and providing nutrients for the divine tree. In winter, thousands of miles are covered in ice, and the thousand silk vines grow furry flower bones, fearless of wind and frost, dedicated to keeping the divine tree warm. In this way, the divine tree and the thousand silk vine relied on each other and unknowingly practiced together for thousands of years. One day, a peerless divine bird from the Japanese island of immortality, overwhelmed by the beauty of the divine tree, refused to migrate again. From then on, the divine bird sang day and night in the arms of the divine tree, until it cried blood. The kind divine tree couldn't bear the divine bird to cry and die like this, and wanted to make a sound to stop it. Suddenly, a golden light appeared between heaven and earth, and the divine tree transformed into a graceful young man. Haiqing also transformed into a graceful fairy. The wings of the divine bird were folded, and it turned into a charming and lovely fairy. The three of them immediately looked at each other, realizing that they had the magic to transform into human form. At this moment, the sound of flutes drifted from somewhere in the peach blossom forest, causing butterflies to dance one after another. A few chants came from the sky. A tree hides its roots and its roots are limited, while peach blossoms are flying endlessly. In the depths of the white clouds, where is the end? When will the world have leisure? Suddenly, a refreshing breeze blew in, and the wind was filled with the fresh scent of the soil after the rain. Master, look, my disciple's divine tree has been cultivated. Only then did I see an old man with white hair slowly emerge from a white mist, his smile extremely pleasant, and after looking for a long time, it felt as warm as the sun. A young man in white with delicate skin was happily talking to the old fairy while jumping. The old immortal tapped the young man's forehead with his middle finger and scolded him indulgently, "You naughty, these days have passed, and you still haven't made any progress." Master is talking nonsense. I am learning very well, but other martial brothers are not as good as me. The young man in white pouted, "Very cute. You're such a rascal." "Oh, no matter what." The old immortal chuckled helplessly, shook his head, and then stroked his beard. He, master, look, the divine tree I raised can now transform into a human. Can we let it soar? The young man hugged the old immortal and obediently winked at him, looking very festive. Oh you! Let you raise the divine tree, it's better for you to cultivate this evil fate. The old immortal sighed long, and with his fingertips, he frowned. After a while, the old immortal gave the young man a meaningful glance and said to him, now, we need to let all three of them go to the human world to experience it. If they pass the test, they can soar to become gods. What? On Earth, the young man asked with a surprised expression on his face. The old immortal touched his beard again and then said, the divine tree you raised was originally blessed with purity and truth, but because it was bound by the divine bird and the 1,000 silk vine, it needed to go to the human world to settle this relationship. Such is the will of heaven, which cannot be defied. So, how should they deal with themselves after they descend to earth? The young man asked with a puzzled expression on his face. All things begin in chaos, but in the human world, they are said to be divided into two parts. Yin and Yang, and heaven, earth, and human beings. Therefore, they are divided into good and evil, beauty and ugliness, and good and bad. However, all things coexist, and how can they be distinguished? If good is too good, it is easy to break and not acceptable to humans. If evil is too evil, it will cause damage, and it will bear its own fruit. This is the saying that if there is good, there will be evil. Therefore, all things rely on a clear conscience. The old immortal looked at the distant white clouds and pondered deeply, saying. The young man nodded in thought, as if he understood the meaning of the old immortal. The old immortal suddenly showed a smile, nodded in satisfaction, and pointed at the divine tree, divine bird, and 1,000 silk vines with the magic tool in his hand. The three of them transformed into strands of mortal offspring and fell into the human world. Chapter 2. The Battle for the Crown Prince. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The capital city of Pingguo, above the palace. Crown Prince Ping Xiu was detained in court for sending someone to assassinate the second Prince Pingying. However, he had no remorse and only gritted his teeth, glaring angrily at the second Prince Pingying. Seeing his appearance, Emperor Pingxian couldn't help but slap him in the face. Bastard! Are you in such a hurry to become emperor? Do you still have me in your eyes? He's your own younger brother. Unexpectedly, Ping Xiu burst into laughter and glanced disdainfully at Emperor Pingxian, pointing angrily at Pingying. Since ancient times, kings have been defeated by bandits. I just wish I hadn't taken action earlier and made him more prepared. Otherwise, how could I have lost? Emperor Pingxian was so angry that his blood surged up. He collapsed backwards and looked at his eldest son in disbelief. The eunuch beside him immediately came to help him. Your mother is such a virtuous person. If she had known about you from the bottom of the spring, how would you have seen her now? Ha ha ha. Xian Shu. Ping Xiu laughed a few times in a fit of madness and choked up, saying, it's all your fault. Why do you and your mother both love this younger brother so much? Since childhood, in your eyes, I have always been inferior to him. Don't think I don't know how much you hope he is the eldest son of the emperor. You all want him to be the emperor. Even my most beloved Shuhui, you want to give him. Shuhui is clearly in love with me, and he even wants to touch me. Upon hearing these words, Pingying couldn't help but rush forward and grab Ping Xiu's arms. Brother, I have never coveted your throne, never. My admiration for Shuhui is only one-sided, and there is no usurpation. Upon hearing this, Ping Xiu threw away Pingying's hand in disgust. Get off your dirty hands. You're just a hypocrite. You've always liked to pretend to be weak and selfless since you were young, making your parents love you all the time, but giving me all the harshness. When I was being whipped by your father and scolded by your mother, you acted coquettishly in her arms. You, father, mother, have ever pitied me half a minute. Don't think I don't know, you just want to take everything from me. Whether it's the throne or my beloved woman. When I cry, you're funny. Emperor Pingxian spat out a mouthful of blood in despair and was supported by the eunuch, trembling back to the dragon chair. Ping Xiu, I didn't expect that your mother and I had high expectations of you, which led us to teach you strictly. But you thought we were biased. Your younger brother is naturally kind and weak, and both your mother and I thought he couldn't bear the heavy responsibility of being a ruler of a country, so we took extra care of him. Anyway, he will only be an idle prince in the future. As a result, you. Before Emperor Pingxian could finish speaking, he fainted and was quickly taken away by the crowd for treatment. 2 days later, the sad news of Emperor Pingxuan's serious illness came from the palace, saying that it was anger attacking his heart, and there was not much time left. Crown Prince Ping Xiu was demoted to a commoner and sent to the bitter cold border. Pingying naturally became the crown prince. Pingying, who valued emotions, was not at all happy. Every day, she only had disheveled hair and shed tears on her face. On the one hand, he was saddened by the loss of his younger brother, and on the other hand, he was also worried about his father's serious illness. He originally only wanted to stay by his father's side, but now he can only correct the memorials that are constantly being submitted. Pingying never thought that he would one day become emperor, so he never asked about politics. The thought of his father passing away in the future and becoming the king of Pingguo made him shudder. He knew he was not made of this material at all. However, many of the courtiers under the Pingying faction were overjoyed. Although Pingying had never coveted the throne, these courtiers had already secretly planned and designed for many years. Over the years, they have pretended to be patriotic loyalists who are indifferent to fame and fortune on the surface, but in reality, they have secretly engaged in extremely fierce battles with Ping Xiu and others. Both sides, in order to strengthen their own power, have formed cliques for personal gain, plundered the wealth of the people, and even spared no expense in harming loyalty and righteousness, simply because the other party is unwilling to submit to their own power. All of this, only Pingying was kept in the dark. They even secretly assassinated Ping Xiu on the way to distribution, in order to eradicate the root cause. 5 days later, a palace made next to Emperor Pingxian was bribed by Pingying's courtiers and poisoned in the soup. The imperial physicians also knew that the world was already Pingying's, so they were all bribed. Emperor Pingxian was like this, unknowingly poisoned to death, and the palace people all claimed to have died of illness to the outside world. Poor Emperor Pingxian, on his deathbed, was still thinking of a foolproof solution for his son. Since he knew that Pingying had no capital, he issued an order to marry Wang Shuhui, who had a prominent family background and exceptional intelligence, to Pingying and named her empress, because he believed that the loyal and patriotic Wang family could assist Pingying in stabilizing the country. 1 month later, the national mourning ended and Pingying successfully ascended to the throne, becoming the new ruler of Ping Kingdom. But at this time, Pingguo was no longer a majestic and powerful country that had once dominated the world. In the years of secret struggle between the two parties, the political platform had been destroyed, and corrupt officials and thieves were rampant. The people were filled with grievances, and Pingguo was now riddled with wounds and holes. Chapter 3. Haiqing River Yen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Pingying ascended the throne, the scholars who had previously pretended to be noble revealed their claws and teeth. They hurriedly took credit in order to rise to the next level, which angered Pingying, and he left with a brush of his sleeve. Upon hearing this news, Wang Shuhui, who had been crowned as the queen, quickly tidied up her clothes and brought lotus seed soup to visit Pingying. As soon as I arrived at the entrance of the Purple Wan Hall, the emperor's sleeping palace, I heard Pingying, who had always been gentle, cursing loudly. What a jerk! One by one, they have ambitious ambitions. Back then, they were all common people, but now it's better that they're all promoted. I'm just a puppet. Empress Wang gestured for the palace people to stay outside the door, holding lotus seed soup and entering the palace. Why sweep the world if you don't sweep a house? Why don't you first drink a cup of lotus seed soup with my concubine, lower the fire, and then discuss major affairs of the world with my concubine? Husband. The queen actually calls herself husband. Pingying was both surprised and delighted. She didn't care about him because of his imperial status, but she truly regarded him as a husband close to ordinary people. Pingying, who was originally angry, smiled happily when she saw Wang Shuhui. Since they got married, her thoughtfulness and intelligence have helped him a lot. Besides, he has secretly admired her for many years. Empress. You've come just in time. I'm worried and don't know what to do. Empress Wang couldn't help but smile, put down the lotus seed soup, rolled in Pingying's sleeve, and sat down together. Your Majesty, are you worried about more monks than porridge? Pingying's eyes were immediately filled with admiration for Queen Wang, and he nodded. I truly deserve to be the Empress, to put it bluntly. They are all old ministers who have followed me for many years. In the past, they were all unwilling to be loyal to the Emperor. I thought they were all honest and upright, and did not admire fame and fortune. Now it seems that I am the one who is smiling and generous. However, there are only those important positions. How can we reasonably allocate them to these old ministers? Queen Wang lowered her head for a moment of contemplation, then held Pingying's hand and gently said, the Emperor thought, why did they choose to follow you? Pingying clearly had never considered this issue, his eyebrows furrowed and he fell silent for a moment. Queen Wang saw the situation and said, do you dare to guess? Pingying quickly nodded. Empress Wang stood up, picked up an empty cup, and signaled for Pingying. What the Empress means is, I am this empty cup, said Pingying with a sudden enlightenment. Queen Wang nodded joyfully and held Pingying's hand. Yes, Your Majesty, you are the best king among these officials who claim to be noble and consider themselves the pillars of the country. Although your brother is capable of both literature and martial arts, he is ruthless and ruthless. Under his authority, his subordinates are all cowardly and cowardly, pursuing fame and fortune, and following social norms. Pingying suddenly turned his worries into joy and tightly grasped the hand of Empress Wang, excitedly asking, Empress's words are deafening. So, how should I value them? Queen Wang's smile was like a flower, nestled in Pingying's arms. I believe that since the Emperor is an empty cup, there is no need to make a decision on my own. I can use the technique of balance to deliver several of the most respected senior officials to revive the court. I believe they will uphold the will of the previous emperor, combined with your kindness in regeneration, and will definitely devote themselves to the cause of death. Pingying thought so and immediately drafted 4 imperial edicts. Promoted Wang Ling, the eldest son of General Pingguo, who was also the biological brother of Empress Wang, to the rank of first-rank Protector General. Promote Song Shuyun, the Crown Prince and Grand Tutor of the 3 generations, who was also the teacher of Pingying, to the position of Prime Minister of the first rank. Promoted Lin Yunsheng, the Imperial Censor who spoke frankly and dared to advise, to the rank of first-class Imperial Censor. Zhang Zhengxian, the head of the Hanlin Academy, was promoted to the rank of Grand Secretary of the first-rank palace, despite his wealth of knowledge. Once the edict was issued, it caused a stir in the court and public. The 4 adults who were promoted were even more excited, holding the imperial edict and shouting loudly in the mansion, sighing that the Pingguo kingdom had a wise ruler and the people had a way of life. From then on, the politics of Pingguo took on a completely new look. From then on, Pingying fully delegated power and allowed the 4 adults to play their respective roles, clearing most of the traitors and thieves from the previous dynasty. At the suggestion of Empress Wang, Pingying issued a series of livelihood policies such as reducing tax burden and recuperating, gradually restoring normal life for the people and greatly restoring the country's strength. Chapter 4. The Joy of Making Zhang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After 3 years of hard work and governance, the country was peaceful and the people lived and worked in peace and contentment. Various civil and military officials praised Pingying as a wise ruler, and he had a deep marital relationship with Empress Huang. Queen Huang also gave birth to a son, the fourth Prince Pingqi. Pingqi was born with clear ears and eyes, a handsome face, and at first glance, he had the demeanor of an emperor. Pingying was so happy that he stayed up all night, and the next day he ordered a nationwide celebration, attracting the attention of the people. However, several families are happy while others are worried. As the power of the Huang family grew stronger, Pingying's first wife, Chen Lijun, was almost jealous and insane. Chen Lijun's brother, Chen Luho, was even more furious and whipped slaves at home to vent his anger. The Chen family was a high-ranking official of the 3 generations of the Pingguo state, wielding heavy border troops. Over the years, they had made countless contributions to the Pingguo state. However, they were gradually annexed by the Huang family, and the power in the court was also declining. The 4 adults promoted by Pingying were gradually disintegrating in secret. What's even more infuriating is that Pingying is too biased towards this and the other. At least Chen Lijun was the first wife personally bestowed by Emperor Pingxian when Pingyingshang was the prince. In her first year of marriage, Chen Lijun gave birth to a son, who was personally named Pingxi by Emperor Pingxian. Unexpectedly, as the legitimate eldest son, Hiragami naturally became the crown prince, while her biological mother, the crown prince, inexplicably became a noble consort. Upon hearing the news of Queen Huang's birth, Chen Lijun couldn't bear it anymore. Her queen's throne has been taken away, and her son's crown prince's throne will never be taken away in the future. Chen Lijun became more and more angry as she thought about it. She angrily left the palace and rushed directly into the marquis's mansion. "Brother! Do you still have the mood to beat these useless people?" After scolding, Chen Lijun pouted and shook her skirt before sitting on the seat in the center of the hall. Chen Luho was so angry at this scolding that he swung his whip hard and hit it hard on the ground, causing the slave to quickly flee. "You still have the face to say, it's not that you're useless. You can't even hold on to a useless heart." Upon hearing these words, Chen Lijun almost went crazy and pushed the table, shattering everything to the ground. "I'm useless. It was the dog emperor who ordered him to marry that slut from the Huang family. How could I know that the old beast would drag me into the water even when he was dying? If I hadn't ordered someone to drug the old emperor, he would have been able to become the emperor with this weak and incompetent thing, Pingying." Marquis Chen Luho let out a long sigh and said, "So what? You dare not tell him that you did this. Now, it's okay to make wedding clothes for someone. It's a waste of money for me to spend so much money and care for so many people." Chen Lijun sneered. "Humph. If I hadn't made him emperor, you could have become a national uncle. Can so many people work hard for you? It's called poverty here. Don't think I don't know how much you've secretly plundered. These are all things you should spend. If I can't live well, you can't expect to live a good life either." Chen Luho shook his head in anger and gritted his teeth, saying, "Fortunately, that slut from the Huang family only gave birth to the 4th child. There are still 2nd and 3rd children ahead. We can't threaten you for now." Chen Lijun immediately glanced at Chen Luho and snorted in disgust. "For now. What I want is forever. As long as he exists, he poses a threat to my son's throne. Can the 2nd and 3rd of them also be considered obstacles? Like their mother, they are just a pig's head and brain, not a climate. So what do you want? Do you want me to kill you?" Chen Luho looked puzzled. Chen Lijun stepped forward and forcefully pushed Chen Luho's shoulder with her fingers. "You are really a rascal. Do you think Wang Shuhui is just eating idle food? Waiting for you to harm her son? She is a notorious poison woman. The Huang family doesn't have a good thing, and if they keep their mouths shut, it's all for themselves. Fishing for fame and pretending." Chen Luho shook his sleeve and turned his head away. "So what do you think we should do? This won't work, that won't work either. Chen Lijun pondered for a long time and said, now we can only make two preparations. Chen Luho immediately asked, how to prepare? Chen Lijun said, on the one hand, we need to stabilize our position as the crown prince. Whether it's the harem or the court, we need to manage it with care. On the other hand, we might as well make some deals with neighboring countries. If the crown prince's position is really threatened, we can only take risks and rise up to seize power. What? Are you going to rebel? Are you crazy? Chen Liuho's angry eyes widened. Our Chen family has been loyal for generations, serving the country. How can we become rebels? That's right, I'm crazy. Chen Lijun's tears welled up. Why did the old emperor care about the loyalty and righteousness of our Chen family for generations? The Chen family has sacrificed their lives for the country for 3 generations, causing countless deaths and injuries. They have devoted their entire lives to that cold land, pitiful for my father and mother who died in battle. What happened? He didn't even think about our Chen family when he was dying. He even specifically designated Huang as the empress. What are you loyal to, such a dog emperor? Also, damn Pingying, he has always been devoted to only Wang Shuhui, who should have married his brother. He turned a blind eye to me. He was just forced to marry me, and where would he pity me? Cherish me? Who cares about our Chen family? Now, he even wants the Huang family to annex the military power of our Chen family. Do you still want to be foolish and loyal? Chen Luho became angry and ashamed, wishing to kill Pingying with one blow, but he could only scratch his fists. Sister, you're right. Our Chen family cannot sit idly by. That slut from the Huang family is really difficult to deal with. In just 3 years, our previously painstakingly managed power has been almost dissolved. Chen Lijun nodded and said, brother, the key now is the Huang family. We must let her backyard catch fire. It's difficult to deal with in the palace, as she has many ears and eyes. However, her brother is a brave and unscrupulous person. How about you secretly gather evidence, unite with some civil servants, and impeach him for forming a party for personal gain? I don't believe he will be so clean that he can't find any mistakes. Okay, clever plan. Chen Luho nodded immediately. Sister, then you should be extra careful in the palace and try to win over Pingying's heart. After all, our crown prince is always the favored heir. His son is dignified and both civil and military. No matter how biased Pingying is, he is still his own son. Even if Ping Qi is excellent in the future, he will be 6 years younger than him. Chen Lijun was deeply convinced and hugged her brother before quietly returning to the palace. That night, everyone was still celebrating the birth of the 4th prince, and Chen Lijun fell asleep with a heavy heart. Chapter 5. Yunsheng descends to the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Late at night, a group of people in black quietly entered the Lin mansion. The leader entered the room of the Minister of Personnel, Lin Fumin, and pressed his sword against his neck, startling the Lin couple who were resting in bed. Lin Fumin, why don't you write a letter to impeach Wang Ling? Aren't you afraid of death? Mrs. Lin had a frightened expression on her face, looking at her husband with a trembling body. Lin Fumin snorted coldly twice and looked fearlessly at the man in black. Humph, my Lin family has been clean and honest for generations. How many years have we been through ups and downs? With a noble family and strong character, it's not just a matter of words. As the Minister of Personnel, I am in charge of the fate of all officials. No matter which party you belong to, it has nothing to do with me. I am only loyal to the king and the country. If I were to slander loyal officials because I was afraid of your threats, would I still bear the surname Lin? Lin Fumin, don't be shameless. The man in black became angry with embarrassment, and the sword in his hand cut bloodstains on Lin Fumin's chin. Lin Fumin remained even more calm, holding down the opponent's sword edge and coldly saying, I still want to advise you. If I have any good or bad intentions, the Emperor will investigate thoroughly. Are you sure you want to provoke me as a neutral faction due to party disputes? Just as the man in black was hesitating, suddenly, the cries of servants came from outside. Master, master, it's not good. The young lady is going to have a baby. Not good. Lin Fumin sighed inwardly. If you don't give birth early or late, it's just that now, don't the thieves have a bargaining chip to threaten? Sure enough, the man in black smiled proudly and said, Lin Fumin, look, it's hard to disobey fate. If I remember correctly, this is the eldest grandson of your Lin family. Your son Lin Qingji has only had offspring. Do you have the heart to let his first child die young? Indeed, you're right. We can't touch you, but it's not difficult to let a child die in childbirth, is it? And remember, if you don't cooperate, I have the ability to make your Lin family stand out. You. The man in black grabbed Lin Fumin and kicked open the door, ordering his men to arrest the servant waiting for the letter outside. This group of people fought and rushed straight into the courtyard of Lin Qingji and his wife Zhang Zhenhua. Who are you? Lin Qingji, who was anxiously waiting outside the dormitory, was startled by someone who came. Upon closer inspection, it was discovered that his father, Lin Fumin, had been held tightly by the criminals and could not move. Lin Qingji, I hope you are smarter than your father. Be obedient and write a memorial to impeach Huang Ling. You should know that the evidence is already conclusive, and there are so many officials who have written the memorial, but it is so difficult for you to provide evidence. Do you insist on opposing us? Then don't blame us for being impolite. If you still want the fetus in your womb to give birth smoothly, write a memorial immediately. We will help you submit it. Lin Qingji's heart was immediately in turmoil. 3 days ago, the Lin family suddenly received a letter dart asking them to impeach Huang Ling. The father said that the thieves would not easily touch the court officials, and only suggested that he and Zhenhua escape first to avoid the limelight. However, unfortunately, Zhenhua had reached her due date and was not suitable to travel around. She wanted to give birth before leaving. Unexpectedly, it happened that the thieves came on the day of childbirth. Suddenly, the maid ran out of Zhang Zhenhua's dormitory, sweating profusely and said, Young master, young lady is having difficulty giving birth. Turning her head, the maid saw a group of people in black, her legs weak in fear. Upon seeing this, Lin Qingji quickly said, You go take care of Madame Xiao first. You have nothing to do here. The maid quickly nodded and retreated into the inner room. How's it going, Lin Qingji? How long do you have to consider? I don't have time to be with you. The man in black rushed forward and punched Lin Qingji in the chest. Ah! Where can the weak Lin Qingji resist the heavy punches of the master? Directly hit 2 meters away, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. Stop it! Stop it! Seeing his son injured, Lin Fumin immediately felt a tug of pain in his heart. The man in black burst out with a ferocious laugh upon seeing the situation. Ha ha ha! Stubborn old man, now you know you're heartbroken. What kind of noble character is so funny? Toast, not eat, eat, punish. I'll count 3 times for you. Every 3 times I count, I'll cut off one of his fingers. I want to see how a world-renowned talent Lin Qingji can write poetry and paint if he can't hold a pen. The man in black started counting down. 1. Lin Fumin tightly bit his chin. 2. At this moment, Lin Qingji, who was lying on the ground, suddenly pulled out a dagger and pointed it at his neck. No. Father. Don't agree. Even if my son dies, he won't be a cowardly person who is afraid of death. Are you still trying to show off your strength when you're on the brink of death? The black-clothed man kicked away the dagger in Lin Qingji's hand and forcefully kicked Lin Qingji on the ground. Lin Qingji then spat out a mouthful of blood. Qingji! Qingji! Lin Fumin's eyes were filled with tears, and his heart was cut like a knife. It seems that you will never die until you reach the Yellow River. 3. After speaking, the man in black picked up the sharp sword in his hand and prepared to cut off Lin Yunsheng's right index finger. No. I promise, I promise. Lin Fumin knelt on the ground, lowered his head, tears streaming down his face. The man in black spat on the ground, quickly took a pen and paper, and threw it in Lin Fumin's face. Shouldn't you just agree earlier? It's just a waste of my energy. The black-clothed man's men quickly lifted the tables and chairs and ground them. Lin Fumin decisively wrote an impeachment letter, stamped it with his own seal, and handed it to the man in black. No. Dad. No. Lin Yunsheng, who still had some strength lying on the ground, was still trying to dissuade him. What a fool. What a scholarly family, just fishing for fame and reputation. The man in black was so angry that he kicked Lin Yunsheng again, took the impeachment letter, and left with his subordinates brushing their sleeves. Lin Fumin weakly lifted his son and shook his head helplessly. Lin Yunsheng looked worried and struggled, saying, Dad, how can you agree with them? Hey. Lin Fumin gently stroked his son's back and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, his expression became fierce. Yunsheng, at this moment, if I inform anyone about this matter, or wait for it to happen, you will all be in danger of death. My only way is to express my will through death. Tonight, I will write a memorial requesting my departure, writing to the emperor overnight, claiming that I am critically ill. I request the emperor to allow me to resign from my position and recuperate. As long as I am dead, you will never enter the government and be willing to live in poverty, so as to ensure the peace of the whole family. Upon hearing his father's words, Lin Yunsheng's already weak body immediately trembled. No, Dad, don't talk nonsense. Let's work together to find a solution. There must be other ways. Lin Fumin gently shook his head. Yunsheng, don't act impulsively. Dad knows how dangerous this officialdom can be. Dad has always been poor and fair, and no one will make a living for your dad. Since the day I became an official, I have been determined to die, but I didn't expect this day to come so soon. Our Lin family has been clean for generations, and you must believe that as long as the Lin family is still alive, there will be another day to shine and plead for the people. You must teach your children well, regardless of poverty, wealth, and status, to uphold the ancestral teachings of our Lin family. Throughout your life, you must be honest and upright, serving the country and the people. At this moment, the sky changed dramatically, and a large white cloud suddenly drifted into the already pitch-black night sky, hovering above Zhang Zhenhua's dormitory, illuminating the entire world. Suddenly, the crying of a baby came from the room. Wow! Wow! At this moment, the maid rushed out of the room and shouted happily. The young lady has given birth. She has given birth. It's the young master. What a sad and happy day. Lin Fumin looked at the amazing white clouds in the sky and couldn't help but feel deeply moved. The Wushan Mountains are clear and clear, with small trees and fish being cut into pieces. The heavy rain gathers in the evening, and the mist grows in the morning. The dangerous peaks enter the bird path, and the deep valleys write the sound of apes. There are no secluded guests, but the feeling of climbing the laurel remains. Yes, how can life be satisfactory everywhere? How could there be such a contradiction between wanting to live in seclusion in the mountains and forests, and wanting to win the laurel in the Toad Palace? I hope that Yunsheng's child can be like this white cloud, truly pure, and worthy of his heart. Let him be named Yunsheng. That night, Lin Fumin wrote his resignation letter and sent someone to the emperor's palace overnight. He then committed suicide by taking poison. Lin Yunsheng immediately dismissed all his servants and servants, setting fire to the Lin mansion in great sorrow. He took his mother, wife, and children with him and fled overnight to the Xiaoyao village in the suburbs. Chapter 6. East Window Incident. You are listening at novelfull.audio. De Co Lois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 7. Breaking the Mirror and Reunion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Late at night, an edict was issued to the Duke to visit the Deyang Hall, announcing that the Emperor was about to arrive, and all the servants were shocked. Chen Lijun's personal maid, Bai Yao, quickly stepped forward and shook up the sleeping Empress Dowager. Empress Dowager, the Emperor is coming. Get up and dress up quickly. Chen Lijun was drowsy and thought she had heard wrong. How could the Emperor come to this Deyang Hall? I couldn't help but sneer. Of course, the Emperor was sleeping with his beloved Wang Shuhui in the Purple One Palace at this moment. As he was about to fall asleep again, Bai Yao couldn't care anymore and could only wake up his master loudly. Empress! You can't sleep anymore. Your Majesty, the Emperor is coming. Chen Lijun was finally awakened, with an incredulous expression on her face. The palace maids quickly groomed and dressed her up. How could the Emperor suddenly visit? Chen Lijun recalled that the last time she met Pingying was 6 months ago, at the New Year's Eve banquet in the palace. She and the Emperor only symbolically toasted and didn't say much more. The last time he stayed in bed was 3 years ago. At that time, he had not yet married Wang Shuhui, and the former emperor was still alive. However, by then, he was already very indifferent, with Wang Shuhui about to marry his brother in his heart, but he despised him in every way, as if he even looked at him. At this moment, Pingying was supported and entered Chen Lijun's dormitory. See your Majesty. The servants knelt down one after another and then retreated. Pingying's gaze quickly scanned the dormitory, and the furnishings were still so luxurious. It felt unfamiliar and familiar, and she couldn't help but sigh inwardly. 3 years had passed. Chen Lijun, however, was somewhat at a loss, sitting in front of the dressing table in a daze, forgetting even to ask for peace. Pingying realized all of this and felt 100 twists and turns in his heart, just silently sitting on a chair in the hall. The two of them remained silent for a long time. For a moment, many memories flipped open in their hearts. Chen Lijun was pampered from a young age, with luxurious clothing and food. She was also a royal relative and had a domineering personality. In addition, our ancestors were all soldiers with a bold and straightforward nature, often speaking rudely. When we first married Pingying, we often made her unhappy. No wonder, at that time, Pingying was a mediocre and weak second prince. How could proud Chen Lijun be happy to be accused of marriage to Pingying? Unfortunately, the late emperor had already made up his mind and insisted on marrying Chen Lijun to Pingying and Wang Shuhui to Crown Prince Pingxiu. This actually indicates that in the late emperor's heart, the Wang family is the only candidate for the imperial family. So, Chen Lijun felt depressed and unhappy in her heart, harboring resentment towards the former emperor and full of resentment towards Pingying. Due to Wang Shuhui being only 12 years old at the time, she had only arranged a marriage and had not yet completed the ceremony. However, Chen Lijun, who was a few years older, happened to be at the age of 15 and got married first. In the first year, she gave birth to her eldest son, Pingguo. I thought I was a married Chen Lijun, but I didn't expect that Pingying still didn't like me. What she was thinking about was Wang Shuhui, which made her even more embarrassed and angry. She decided to break the jar and throw it. So, the two of them despised each other, and the relationship gradually broke down, even worse than a stranger. When Chen Lijun was 18 years old, the late emperor passed away, but unfortunately, she pointed out that Wang Shuhui had married Pingying and even named her empress, which left her with no face. She simply cut off contact with the emperor and only had to meet him during major festivals. Chen Lijun looked at herself in the mirror and sighed at the passing of time. Although only 21 years old, she no longer possesses that alluring beauty. In the end, Pingying broke the silence. Consort, I came to see you today to impeach the Wang family. Oh, indeed. Chen Lijun's eyes were full of disappointment, lamenting that the emperor really only cared about the Huang family in his heart. It's really touching to be able to come to the Dayang palace in the middle of the night to see the woman I hate the most for her sake. It seems that the emperor is here to provoke criticism. Why, Huang has been impeached. Oh, anyway, as long as someone is against Huang, it's me who did it. Chen Lijun is such a jealous woman in your heart. After speaking, Chen Lijun rushed to the emperor, her face flushed with anger. Unfortunately, your majesty, you miscalculated. How noble my Chen family is. I can't afford to ruin my reputation for a small Huang family. No matter how prominent and powerful the Huang family may be, it cannot cover up all the heroes of my Chen family. When it comes to blood blade meeting, Chen Lijun will never live a life of mediocrity, it's just a death. Pingying was both embarrassed and angry by these words, and excitedly patted the table. Lijun. Why are you still so unreasonable? I'm not here to punish you, I just want to have a good conversation with you. It's been 3 years, and we haven't had a good conversation in 3 years. But I'm still your husband, and more importantly, we still have a child. I know you hate me, but my child is innocent. Do you want to make mistakes again and again, so that my child has a mother nailed to unbearable history? These words were extremely sincere. Upon hearing the words, Mar, Chen Lijun's heart suddenly softened and she leaned against the edge of the table, sitting down weakly. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. In no time, Chen Lijun lay on the table and burst into tears. This cry softened Pingying's heart, as he acknowledged himself and indeed felt sorry for her. It has to be admitted that Chen Lijun is knowledgeable about the past and the present, proficient in both literature and martial arts, and has a noble demeanor in every move and action. She is indeed a woman who does not surpass men, and a good mother who is dedicated to her son's education. This has enabled the 6-year-old Pingjun to have the spirit and intelligence of a monarch, much higher than her own talent. Unfortunately, she is too strong-willed and always aggressive, which is not in line with her own temperament and not as gentle and considerate as Wang Shuhui. This made him too happy, completely ignoring Chen Lijun in the past 3 years. So, Pingying sincerely apologized. It's my fault. It's my fault. Marrying me in the past was indeed an injustice to you. I understand that you have great ambitions and want to become the mother of a country and help the country. Unfortunately, fate has its power to influence people, and marriage is not something I can control. What's even more wrong is that I have forgotten everything in the past 3 years and have neglected you and the Chen family too much. Now that things have come to this point, I can only expect you to consider the overall situation. But what I can guarantee is that your son is the crown prince I have recognized, and this will not change. No matter how much I care about the Huang family, I will never hand over the world to you. To people other than my child. So, I have to ask you to take good care of my child and not let him become such a mediocre person like me. After hearing these heartfelt words, Chen Lijun looked at Pingying incredulously, and her original anger was immediately extinguished. Upon seeing the situation, Pingying added, so, let the Chen family let the Huang family go and don't let anything happen again. The peace of the country still requires the Huang family's careful assistance, and you don't want to become a ruler of a fallen country in the future, do you? The Queen Huang is just my queen, and you are the crown prince's biological mother. Chen Lijun didn't speak, just tears kept dripping, but it seemed as if she had tacitly agreed. So Pingying nodded and stood up to leave. Suddenly, something came to mind and he warned, Lijun, the Minister of Personnel, Lin Fumin, has already made a clear decision to protect me and the Chen family. His relatives have also disappeared. You should not pursue this matter further. Let's call it a day. Do you remember that Lin Fumin once opposed the former emperor for the Chen family? Ah! You must not make the same mistake again. After speaking, Pingying sighed and left the Dayang hall. Chen Lijun fell down and burst into tears. Chapter 8. Waves and Undercurrents. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. After visiting Consort Chen, the emperor went alone to the imperial study to rest. The next morning, Pingmiao, the eunuch beside the emperor, quietly went to the Yonghe Hall to meet the Queen Huang. Originally, as early as 2 years ago, Empress Huang had bribed and supported him, and raised him as an ear and eye by the emperor's side. Pingmiao came from a humble background, and his mother was a literate geisha who was mercilessly abandoned after being accused by a high-ranking official of being pregnant. His mother, who had lost her livelihood, struggled to give birth to him but found it difficult to make a living. She finally raised him to the age of 9, but fell seriously ill and had to sell him to the palace, thinking that at least he had enough to eat. Pingmiao, although not highly educated, inherited his mother's beauty and was even more cautious and witty. When I first entered the palace, I was envied and humiliated by everyone because of my handsome appearance. From then on, I worked even harder to improve. It was not until he accidentally gained the appreciation of the queen that his fate was completely changed, and he remained loyal to the queen ever since. I kowtow to the empress. As soon as Pingmiao entered the Yonghe Hall, Empress Huang smiled. She really liked this clever little eunuch. Pingmiao, hurry up and flatten yourself. Tell me what happened last night. Pingmiao quickly stood up and bowed to answer, telling Empress Huang in detail how the emperor apologized last night and promised Consort Chen to protect the crown prince from ascending the throne. After listening to these, Queen Huang was pondering for a while, and Pingmiao's breath became even tense. Suddenly, Empress Huang opened her mouth and said, "The ride is expensive. I am here. If there is an order, I am willing to die and be loyal." Queen Huang was instantly amused. "Oh, it's not that serious. I'll make you nervous. I'll ask you, do you have the ambition to become the eunuch in chief?" To be honest. Pingmiao's legs softened in an instant, and he knelt down again, clasping his fists and saying, "I dare not." Queen Huang was clearly dissatisfied and said, "Oh." Pingmiao immediately noticed and his heart turned horizontal. He said, "Yes, of course I want to be below 1 person and above 10,000 people. But I only dare to indulge in serving the empress with all my heart. You are my benefactor. I will never forget you." Empress Huang smiled slightly and lifted the Pingmiao. "Very well, sooner or later our palace will appoint you as the eunuch in chief. I want you to help cultivate a bleeding drop organization within 3 years. Our palace requires everyone to be a top-notch expert. And you must kill invisibly and be loyal. As for your mother, rest assured that our palace will ensure her wealth and peace. Whenever there is an opportunity, you can go and visit me. Also, I have good news for you. Your father, I have avenged you." The box next to you contains his ashes. Every word from Queen Huang was like a thunderbolt, piercing into Pingmiao's heart. He trembled as he opened the box on the table next to him, took out the container containing the ashes, and wrote a line of names on it. Minister of War, Peng Shixin. At this moment, Queen Huang turned around and took a few steps. "I think you must have many questions about why, among the eunuchs, this palace has chosen you. Besides being likable and intelligent, there is also an important reason, which is that your father was one of the most trusted subordinates of Marquis Chen Luho. I think you know better than anyone that Marquis Chen Luho has indulged his subordinates over the years, harmed so many loyal and virtuous people, and harmed so many common people. They were supposed to be relatives of the imperial family, but in reality, they relied on the merits of their ancestors guarding the border and acted recklessly. Now they are just a group of cruel and reckless men. Our royal family has been loyal ministers for generations, taking it as our own responsibility to provide relief to the people, in order to gain the trust of the previous emperor. We have held important military positions and are destined to be enemies of the Qin family." Pingmiao suddenly burst into tears. He remembered his mother being kicked out of a brothel, and the two of them begging along the street but being driven away by various means. Now, finally, they have a great revenge. This enemy, whom he had never met before and even had no name for, had defiled and abandoned his mother, finally died. It is precisely because of this malicious father, who could reward them with a meal, but made them wander on the streets and even forced him to become a eunuch, living in darkness. He wants to win. He wants his mother to enjoy wealth and prosperity for a lifetime. Slave, thank you to the Empress for your kindness. May you ascend to the Sword Mountain and descend from the Sea of Fire, and swear to die and be loyal to the Empress. Empress Huang nodded in satisfaction, and Peng Qinggui retreated knowingly. At this moment, General Wang Ling, who had been hiding behind the screen, walked out. Sister, what are your plans next? If the Crown Prince becomes the Emperor, you may not live to become the Empress Dowager. Queen Huang sneered coldly. Don't you know your sister's cleverness yet? This Chen Lijun is just looking for death. Before I can come knocking on her door, she's in a hurry to go to Huangquan Road. Brother, don't worry, I have already planned. Wang Ling smiled slightly and said, may I hear its details? Empress Huang finally relaxed her body and sat on a chair in the hall, taking a sip of tea. I had no intention of allowing Chen Lijun to live until then. Whether it was the Crown Prince ascending the throne or Ping Qi ascending the throne, as the mother of a country, I was under the control of our royal family. After careful consideration, Ping Qi was ultimately too young to compete for the throne as the fourth prince. It would be better to be a virtuous queen. As long as Chen Lijun dies, the Crown Prince can only recognize me as his mother. The Emperor only has me in his heart. He is nothing but a conscientious unease towards Chen Lijun. In fact, he has long detested her. The current concern is nothing more than for the sake of the Crown Prince. If the Emperor knows what Chen Luho has done, he will turn from guilt to anger. Moreover, the Chen family even lifted a stone and smashed themselves in the foot, causing officials to falsely accuse you and kill a good minister of personnel, Lin Fumin. Isn't it not self-inflicted? Brother, think about it. If the Emperor finds out again that Chen Lijun has become even worse, harming me, and even my son, what do you think the Emperor will do? Wang Ling couldn't help but smile proudly and give her sister a thumbs up. My younger sister is truly clever. Brother feels inferior to me. Queen Huang shook her head and smiled helplessly. Speaking of which, it's also a matter of fate playing tricks on people. Ping Xiu and I were childhood sweethearts, and I have admired him for a long time. Unfortunately, he was so anxious that he wanted to assassinate Pingying just as he was about to win the throne. I know he's doing it all because of me. He thought my concern for Pingying was admiration, but in fact I was just acting on the spot. I never expected that the late emperor would marry me to Pingying. Actually, I don't hate Chen Lijun, but rather pity her. She has been the heroic soul of the Chen family for generations. How could the former emperor truly trust her? Otherwise, I won't always think I'm better suited to be the queen. Do you think the emperor really trusts me, trusts the Huang family? It's just that the Huang family is under his control, and our lives are all secretly controlled by him. Unlike their Chen family, who have been powerful for several generations, their influence has long been dominant. Wang Ling nodded in agreement and sighed. Hey! Sister, you can still see it clearly. If you hadn't reminded me to pretend to be a brave and unscrupulous man, I'm afraid our Huang family would have been suspected by the emperor long ago. Now, the Chen family's power in the court has been weakened by 3 points by us, but in reality, their comprehensive strength is still strong. Are you sure you want to take action against Chen Lijun? Queen Huang frowned. I didn't want to start a big fight so early, but they have already taken action against you and the situation cannot be delayed. Currently, it seems that the only way is for the Crown Prince to ascend to the throne, so that Marquis Chen Lu won't completely argue with the Emperor, and the country and the world can be safeguarded. As long as Chen Lijun dies, I will come and become the Empress Dowager, and our Huang family will have plenty of time to strengthen themselves and continue to compete with their Chen family. Wang Ling was completely impressed by his sister and nodded heavily. Okay, then I'll go take care of the palace servants and arrange everything. Sister, you must take care of yourself. After speaking, Wang Ling quietly left with excellent lightness skills. Chapter 9. Inviting the Emperor to the Urn. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Since the Emperor and Chen Guifei reunited, there has been no incident of impeachment against Wang Ling in the court. Chen Lijun wrote down all the impeachment memorials, but kept them in a confidential place. The courtiers who were being blackmailed finally let go of their hanging hearts and felt extremely grateful. So he became more diligent in political affairs, wholeheartedly assisting the crown prince in his studies, and familiar with government affairs. At the age of only 6, Crown Prince Hiroshi is truly talented. Not only does he not tire of these tedious and uninteresting things, but he also pays great attention to the suffering of the people, and can never forget the articles he has learned. When Pingying asked him, "How do you understand that the path of university lies in Mingmingd?" The young Pingguo frowned slightly and said, "Well, I would like to inform Emperor Ama." The Grand Tutor said that adults and gentlemen should promote noble and upright character, and also make their inherent conscience and nature clear in their hearts, in order to make the world stable and the people peaceful. But my courtiers don't think so. Pingying suddenly became interested and said, "Oh. Why do you think so?" Pingguo smiled extremely cute and excitedly said, "I believe that the virtue of the world is as good as water. The greatest virtue is the unity of rulers and ministers, serving the people together. The so-called wise virtue, I believe, is that both rulers and ministers can restrain themselves and serve the people, think for the people, and nourish the people like water." Upon hearing these words, speaking from a 6-year-old child, everyone was momentarily surprised. Pingying was so excited that it was hard to express. Picking up Pingying was like a heartwarming meal, and she cheered loudly. "My son is truly the proud son of heaven. He will surely be the emperor for eternity in the future." In this way, everyone was happy during the days of turning danger into safety, and unconsciously more than a month passed. One day, in a quiet corner of the palace, Peng Qingui invited Chen Lijun's personal maid Bai Yao to meet. Bai Yao, raising soldiers for 1,000 days and using them for a while, the empress said, "No matter whether you succeed in this trip or not, the empress will guarantee the prosperity of your family for a lifetime." Bai Yao, who disguised himself as a eunuch, said confidently, "Grandpa, please rest assured that Empress Dowager Bai Yao will never betray her. If it weren't for Empress Dowager Chen Luho, our whole family would have been killed. I was forced to sell myself as a slave for more than 10 years and suffered all the injustice. Thanks to Empress Dowager's care, the whole family had a peaceful life and even supported me from a maid to a noble concubine, living a life of luxury in luxury. However, Empress Dowager never asked me to do anything. Now, I finally have the opportunity to repay my kindness. Even if I were to die, I would be willing to do so." Peng Qingui whispered, "Don't worry," Madam said. "As long as your trip is successful, Madam will take you to the Yonghe Palace. There won't be any more difficult things to do afterwards, just for once." Bai Yao nodded and hid the poison handed over by Peng Qingui in his sleeve, then hurriedly left. As the Mid-Autumn Festival banquet approaches, according to tradition in the palace, all concubines in the harem are required to attend. Previously, the birth mother of the second prince, Lady Li, proposed that each concubine would serve a dessert and taste it together. The emperor and empress both found it novel and readily agreed. At the festive banquet, the various concubines were in a fierce competition, with some even singing and dancing, making Pingying extremely happy. Seeing Pingying and Empress Huang sitting on equal footing in the center of the hall, affectionate as if no one else was around, Chen Lijun secretly bit her back teeth. The higher the status of a concubine, the later she presents herself. When Chen Guifei presented her, the joyful atmosphere suddenly dropped to freezing point. "I'm feeling unwell, so I only made one portion. I'm not interested in sharing it with lowly people." I guess besides the Empress, no one else dares to share my meal, right? There was something in these words that stabbed Pingying directly. Pingying's face turned black in an instant and he clenched his hand into a fist. Unexpectedly, Empress Huang smiled and clenched the Emperor's tightly clenched fist. She stood up, walked down the steps, and without hesitation, took a bite of the dessert presented by Consort Chen. The 9-layer osmanthus cake made by the noble consort is sweet but not greasy, with both inside and outside cultivation, which is very in line with the taste of our palace. It is an honor for our palace to have this unique pastry. The Emperor's face lit up with joy upon hearing this. With a deep sigh in his heart, he truly lived up to the title of Empress Huang. Using pastries as a metaphor for himself brought back the face of his emperor, and he praised his inner and outer cultivation, as well as the sweetness of his favor. Just as Chen Lijun was about to refute and pull back around, Empress Huang suddenly convulsed all over, her lips turned purple, and she spat blood from her mouth, falling to the ground without getting up. The emperor was startled and quickly got down to pick up Empress Huang, shouting incessantly, "Shu Hui! Shu Hui! What's wrong with you? Someone! Send the imperial physician!" Chen Lijun was also surprised and looked at everything in front of her incredulously. Queen Huang was quickly sent to the Yonhe Palace, and Pingying glared fiercely at Chen Lijun. When the imperial physician arrived, everyone had already surrounded the Yonhe hall tightly, with constant cries and cries. Pingying quickly grabbed the arm of Gu Jichang, the head of the imperial physician, and said, "Dr. Gu, you must wake up the Empress. I don't allow her to have any trouble." Gu Jichang quickly knelt down and said, "I obey your orders and will do my best. Please avoid it first. Let me check my condition." Everyone immediately retreated and let their way out. Except for a few palace maids who were serving, everyone else was kicked out of the palace. After a burn of incense, the imperial physician ordered people to bring all the desserts that the empress had eaten, but no abnormalities were found. The emperor was restless and paced back and forth outside the palace. I am even more anxious in my heart, filled with doubts about Chen Lijun. Even though I ate her dessert, the empress collapsed. How could I not find any abnormalities in the dessert? But it seems reasonable. Even for the sake of peace, Chen Lijun cannot poison in public. In addition, Chen Lijun has always been a domineering and arrogant person, unlike someone who does such lowly things. An hour later, the imperial physicians finally emerged from the palace, each with a solemn expression. The emperor quickly rushed over and grabbed Dr. Gu before asking, "How's it going? How's the empress?" Dr. Gu glanced at everyone and hesitated. "Speak up. Is it difficult? The empress has already..." Speaking, Pingying was about to fall backwards. The eunuchs immediately supported Pingying, who burst into tears. Dr. Gu was so frightened that he quickly knelt down and immediately said, "Your Majesty, don't get too excited. The Empress has already turned the tide. It's just that I have something to say to you alone." The eunuchs helped to calm down and Pingying gradually calmed down. When they entered the side hall, Dr. Gu and others knelt down. "Your Majesty, after several rounds of examination by our senior doctors, we found that the poison in the Empress Dowager was probably premeditated." Pingying's face darkened and he said, "How can I say this?" Gu Tai said, "Although all desserts are not poisonous, the osmanthus used by Consort Chen and the 7 deadly poisons in the Empress Dowager can cause people to immediately die from reverse bleeding." Pingying looked puzzled and said, "7 poisons? Are you saying that the Empress had already been poisoned before this?" Dr. Gu nodded and said, "Your Majesty, it is indeed true. However, these 7 deadly poisons are colorless and tasteless, and the person in question has no abnormalities in the short term. However, as soon as they encounter a medicinal herb, namely osmanthus, it will immediately trigger toxicity." Pingying suddenly felt a wave of shock. The person who poisoned him could be described as having a malicious plan. If the culprit is Chen Guifei, then her move can perfectly avoid suspicion. Even if identified, she can be said to be completely innocent. After all, osmanthus is a commonly used ingredient. If there is another perpetrator, then it is completely framing Chen Guifei. Not only can it kill the empress, but it can also falsely accuse Chen Guifei, causing a conflict between the two families of Chen Huang, which can be described as killing two birds with one stone. So, Pingying asked the imperial physicians to remain silent for the time being, saying that the cause of the illness had not yet been determined. He plans to privately send palace officials to investigate the source of the 7 absolute poisons. The imperial physicians and concubines waited until late at night before leaving one after another. Chen Lijun was even more remorseful. Seeing that the emperor did not blame him, she only called out for bad luck and angrily returned to the Deyang hall. A few days later, a eunuch came to report that they had found an unused 7 poisons in the corner of Chen Guifei's Deyang hall. This news has made Pingying dizzy. Intuition told him that this was an obvious framing of the Chen family. If it's really her poison that hasn't been used up, just flush it into the water and pour it into the septic tank. There are ways. Why bury it in the soil? Still buried in the Deyang palace, isn't this intentional to be found? Coincidentally, Queen Huang had already been rescued and her body had recovered significantly. Unable to figure it out, Pingying quickly went to the Yonghe palace. Empress Huang wanted to stay and pay his respects, but Pingying quickly stepped forward to help and stopped him, allowing the empress to lean on his arm. Empress, do you think that if these 7 deadly poisons were found outside her palace, would it be Empress Chen who poisoned you? Queen Huang shook her head confidently. Your Majesty, it's impossible. If it's really the poison inflicted by the noble consort, there's no need to leave this evidence. Besides, if it's really her, she shouldn't just let my concubines eat desserts. If she let everyone eat them, wouldn't it be even more discredited? Why do you want to harm me so clearly? It's evident that the noble consort must not be aware. Pingying did not expect Empress Huang to be so reasonable and not fall into the trap, and he admired her even more. The Empress believes that how to deal with this matter and how to capture the real culprit. Queen Huang pondered for a moment and said, I think this matter should be left untold. No matter what the truth is, it will be detrimental to the royal family. In the future, the emperor will send more people to keep an eye on it. Especially at the place where the poison is buried, I believe the real culprit will go and see if anyone is checking, right? Pingying was convinced and immediately sent the eyeliner of all palaces to tighten their eyes. After Pingying left, Peng Qinggui quietly handed a note to the empress. The note reads: The evidence of Chen Liuho's crime has been buried in the drug storage area. In the near future, the palace officials will report that Chen Liuho secretly poisoned himself to help the Chen family seize power. Empress Huang smiled knowingly and burned the note completely. Chapter 10. Huang K. After. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 days later, in the evening, outside the palace and inside the Marquis's mansion. Marquis. Received a confidential letter. Opened the door, only saw the letter, not the person. Someone handed the letter to Marquis Chen Liuho. I saw the seal of my sister Chen Lijun on the envelope and immediately opened it. In the letter, it was written. Brother, hurry up and take power. Come to the palace as soon as possible. Due to poisoning, I was defeated. Tonight, at the northwest corner of the palace, I will discuss it in detail. Chen Liuho's confidants noticed something was wrong and advised him, Marquis, this matter is suspicious. Your esteemed consort has never used this method to contact you. Besides, how could you poison her? I'm afraid there may be fraud. Recalling the incident where the Empress was almost poisoned to death before, Marquis Chen Liuho couldn't help but be shocked. Could it be that the younger sister secretly stole the assassin from her? Chen Liuho furrowed his brows and said, but this seal and handwriting are both true. Even if there is fraud, she is afraid of something unexpected. I cannot ignore it. So he burned the secret letter and hurried to the palace. At the same time, a messenger dart flew into the Deyang palace, and the palace maid quickly handed it to Chen Lijun. Chen Lijun opened it and saw a note that read, "Sister, my brother was defeated in poisoning. We will meet tonight at the northwest corner of the palace at Haiqing." Chen Lijun was taken aback in her heart. No wonder the empress's poisoning was so mysterious. Could it be that her brother had secretly poisoned her? Quickly burn the note, tidy up the clothes, and hurriedly go outside the hall to wait alone. Just as Chen Lijun saw Marquis Chen Luho rushing towards him, a group of guards suddenly rushed out and surrounded the two. Marquis Chen Luho and Chen Lijun glanced at each other, realizing they had been tricked but helpless. At this moment, the guard illuminated with firelight and saw a noticeable area of new soil turning over. The guard ordered someone to pry open the ground and dig out the hidden 7 poisons, which contained half of the letter that had not been burned. It read, "Tonight at the hour of high, we will meet in the northwest corner outside the palace," and also had the seal of Marquis Chen Luho printed on it. At this moment, Ping Ying's face was gloomy and he hurried over from a distance. Everyone quickly bid their respects. The guard presented the evidence one by one. "What else do you have to say?" Ping Ying shook his head in disappointment. Chen Luho and Chen Lijun glanced at each other, knowing that they were unable to argue. Upon seeing the situation, Ping Ying said sadly, "On the day of the incident, I cannot believe that it was your noble consort who did it. They sent people to guard here for several days. Unexpectedly, it was you, Marquis Chen Luho. My national uncle. What are you doing here so late today? Destroying evidence. Is it still not successful? You want to continue plotting to harm people?" Chen Lijun finally realized that she was completely caught in a series of tricks. "I quickly defended myself and said, 'Your Majesty. You misunderstood me, you misunderstood the Marquis. I only came here after receiving a secret letter. We were framed.'" Upon hearing these words, Marquis Chen Luho immediately defended himself and said, "Yes. Your Majesty, I have been wrongly accused. I also received a secret letter before coming." "Enough. If you don't have a ghost in your heart, you will violate the palace rules at night and have a private meeting here. Chen Luho, do you know that breaking into the harem late at night is a capital offense? Your Highness, take a look for yourself. Usually, a group of people follow behind you. What about now? You haven't even brought a palace maid, isn't this a ghost in your heart?" Ping Ying immediately felt heartbroken, and seeing the two people who were sheltering each other, he felt both emotional and hateful. The more Ping Ying thought about it, the more angry he became. Then he said, "You said someone framed you. I want to ask, who framed you? Who dares to frame you?" "Me. If you want to talk about Queen Huang, then it's impossible. Who will use their own lives to frame you? Besides, if it weren't for her pleading, just relying on your Guifei's osmanthus cake would be enough to convict you." Chen Lijun was extremely aggrieved. Seeing that the emperor refused to believe her, she rushed to the guard, grabbed the knife, and pointed it at her neck. "Your Majesty, since you refuse to trust me, I can only show my determination through death. I, Chen Lijun, will never use such vulgar methods as poisoning. If I were to use it, I would have used it long ago, and the 4th prince could still be born safely. My Chen family is full of heroes, even if I lose, I will still lose openly." Upon seeing this, Marquis Chen Lu shed tears and quickly knelt down to plead, "Your Majesty, it's all my fault. It must be that I offended too many people and framed the noble consort. I beg the emperor to spare the noble consort for the sake of the crown prince. The crown prince cannot have a tainted birth mother." Upon hearing this, Ping Ying let out a long sigh. "It's just that. Fortunately, Queen Huang has already told me that she doesn't want to escalate this matter and lose the face of the royal family. You can avoid death, but you cannot escape life. Don't blame me for the harsh punishment, you should know how my imperial brother was demoted to a commoner. Now, I am already generous. There must be no more killing each other in the palace. Then, Pingying said to the crowd, the virtue of Marquis Chen Luho is at a disadvantage, and he committed the following crimes. However, due to the loyalty and martyrdom of the Chen family for generations, he was demoted 3 levels and fined 1 year's salary. Empress Chen is arrogant and rude, and her behavior is serious. However, considering her first offense, it is understandable. Therefore, she was demoted to a concubine and kept in seclusion for 3 months as a sign of punishment. After speaking, Pingying left with a brush of his sleeve. Chen Lijun and Chen Luho collapsed weakly on the ground, hugging their heads and crying bitterly. At this moment, inside the Yonghe Hall, a palace maid quickly ran into the queen's bedroom and informed her of the situation at the Deyang Hall. Empress Huang sighed happily and rewarded the palace maid with a lot of silver, and the palace maid left happily. The Empress is really a clever plan. I saw a palace maid, who was nearly 50 years old but still had charm, walking out from behind the screen with a smile. Queen Huang smiled happily. Isn't that thanks to your aunt's help? Originally, this palace maid was a palace official named Jingru, who used to be a close attendant of the former empress. Haha, how dare I invite credit in front of the empress? At this age, the most important thing is to abide by the rules, follow the right people, and do the right things. Queen Huang shook her head. No one can say anything about you, auntie. In front of you, everyone is a student. Jingru was amused by the queen and laughed heartily. Haha, the empress is really joking. However, don't be too happy too early, the show has just begun. Empress Huang poured a cup of tea for Jingru and the two sat down. This time, Chen can definitely guess that the serial plan we set up was done by our palace, but she couldn't find any evidence. The people planted around her have already been poisoned, buried evidence, and can no longer be used. With her temperament, although she harbors resentment in her heart, she must be careful and not act easily for the sake of the overall situation. Next, it may not be so easy to falsely accuse her of harming our palace's son. Jingru took a sip of tea and smiled, saying, Madam, is this testing the loyalty of the servant? Let me talk about it. Actually, Madam, you already have a plan, don't you? In order to pull Chen Luho off the horse, you are willing to have someone fake a seal. It can be seen that you must have his fatal evidence in your hands. Now that he has been demoted, he cannot easily enter the harem anymore. The opportunity to meet with the noble consort is greatly reduced, which is equivalent to leaving the noble consort isolated and helpless. The next step is nothing more than framing the noble consort to make her unbearable and self-destructive. After listening, Queen Huang drank the tea from the cup in one gulp. Auntie is such a carefree person. I really hope that day will come soon. Good tea is not afraid of late. I'll take leave, servant. After Aunt Jingru finished speaking, she withdrew and left.